again, yeah, my name's Dan Gaunt. I'm from Game Over Auckland. So essentially, I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey into business and I guess the full circle. So I started life as a go-kart racer, and I'm now full circle and back into go-karts. So long story short, long story short is go-karts to go-karts. So I'm just going to try and get this screen here going. Is it? Share. You seeing anything?
Yep.
Cool. That's good. All right, so that's a good start. Technically, we're on top. So I guess my journey, I'll just go to page number 2. My journey, as I mentioned, started in go-karts. So the top left photo was me in 1994 in a go-kart. I would have been 11 years old, racing go-karts in Auckland, and you know, it little did I know at that point the journey that I was going to go on. So I've raced in a bunch of different categories. The photo there in the middle, top right, is the Toyota Racing Series. So it's quite a well-known series in New Zealand now. It's launched a lot of careers into motor racing. I participated in the first 3 seasons. I won season 2 and 3, and then it kind of springboarded me off into international motorsports. So yeah, I'm going to obviously skip over the motor racing stuff just super quick here, but yeah, the journey sort of took me on to Australia first, where I participated in a similar category, and then off over into America. So if I went to this page here, this is my in 2006, so quite a while ago now, but 15 years ago. I got a phone call. There was a guy by the name of Paul Newman, and at the time I had absolutely no idea who Paul Newman was. I think I just missed the his era of stardom in movies. But does everybody know who Paul Newman was or is? Yeah. At the time, like I say, I didn't know too much about him. I knew Newman's Source when someone pointed that out, but essentially the phone rang. They'd seen what I'd been doing in New Zealand and in Australia, and they said, we've got a shootout, a 10-driver shootout in Florida next week. Can you make it? And so a few days later, we're on a plane and flew to Florida. There was 9 Americans and 1 Kiwi, and they obviously wanted to try and get an American in the seat, or 2 Americans in the seat, but managed to be one of the 2 selected. So that was a fantastic chapter in life, and learning about what Paul Newman. I had a bit of a quick 101 movie watch before I went, so I could, which is probably the worst thing I could have done, because I ended up getting starstruck when I met him. And but yeah, we had a 2-day shootout, managed to participate in the season, and it's a journey that I'll never forget. Paul, he came to every race. I learned during the year how big he was as a star, and we'd stay in the same hotel, and for exercise, he wouldn't he wouldn't go down through the lobby if he could help it. So, he'd invite me up to his room. I'd always just be in like the janitor's closet in the Ritz-Carlton or wherever we were staying, down the bottom. He'd be in the suites at the top. I'd go up and join him for breakfast, and then he'd go, right, let's go and do some exercise. And so we'd venture into the stairwell. He'd do 10 flights of stairs 10 times. So if he was staying on the 20th floor, we'd walk down to the 10th floor and back up, and that's how he avoided people, because anytime he walked through, people, I was so surprised. He was mobbed. Just even in the hotel or at the racetrack, it was a fantastic thing to experience as a fly on the wall. It was me and the other American guy, the other driver that sort of went around with him, and yeah. So that was 2006, and like I say, something that I'll take with me for a long time to come. So this is the sort of thing I was into, and I was hell bent on racing cars, and like I say, I managed to participate in America in 2006, and then it took me back to Australia afterwards, and we've got V8 supercars down there on the left. So I participated in 5 Bathursts, and at the same time as a co-driver. At the same time, I was racing in the Carrera Cup series over there. So that was the motor racing journey up until I decided, look, it's about time I need to go into business. So I managed to, very lucky as being part of motor racing to be rubbing shoulders with successful guys, right? So while I was obviously racing, I'd be talking to as many guys as I could. I didn't come from a lot of money, and motor racing is very much like sailing. There's a requirement for a huge amount of money just to get a car to the circuit. It's not just the travel and hotels and everything that's expensive. You need the actual physical raw costs and sponsorship to go and race. So I learned that early on. Like I say, I didn't come from a family with a huge amount of money. My old man, it was his dream as a kid to race cars, and he never got the opportunity. He was in the corporate world and had enough money to buy me a go-kart, and from there, I got support through the guys that were in the game, with throwing a little bit of sponsorship my way to get going, and it grew through asking the question and networking to getting these awesome opportunities in the different categories around New Zealand and then off overseas. But I'll come back to this slide, but essentially along the way I met a guy called Tony Quinn. So Tony is a Scotsman, Australian based. A chance conversation in 2018. I'm 37 now, so at the time it would have been 34 or 35, and I was nearing the end of being able to charge and getting paid for motor racing, and I knew that I needed to start the next chapter of my life. So it was a chance conversation, just sitting down having a coffee at a racetrack with Tony, and I said, look, I'm interested in starting a business. Have you got any ideas? And he said, just so happens I've bought a few go-karts, and I need to look at trying to set something up in Auckland. We can sort of look at doing something together. So I jumped at the opportunity. The reason he bought the go-karts was it was actually by Auckland Airport. There was a go-kart centre that was selling up. He has a go-kart track or a race track at Hampton Downs. He owns Hampton Downs and the one in the South Island called Highlands Motorsport Park. He decided to buy the equipment just so there's obviously, he didn't want the equipment getting set up near the go-kart centre or near his track down at Hampton Downs, which is about an hour south of Auckland here. So that's how the conversation started, and he said, so find a building and we'll set up camp. And so I went on a sort of a fact-finding journey, and it was all new to me. As I said, my background has been chasing the dream and living a little bit of a dream, where racing cars for a living and working for different manufacturers. So like looking for empty sheds was new to me, but I managed to find a good agent. Actually, a mate of mine a flatmate at the time, he worked for Colliers, and we come across the building that we are in, it was probably a little bit too expensive for what we wanted and had little profile to the motorway. So I turned it down initially, and then about 3 weeks later, I was driving north and I saw them cutting down the trees. There's big pine trees that block the building from the motorway, and anyone that lives in Auckland would know the building now. But they cut the trees. I rang Tony and said, "Look, I found a building. I've been through it. It was a little bit on the expensive side, but I think we can. I think this is going to be perfect. It essentially looks like Tip Top Corner from the motorway and north." And he said, "Look, I'll be on a plane tomorrow, and I'll come over." And we managed to do the deal the next day for the building, which was fantastic. So I've learned a lot in the small time setting up how quick, if you've got confidence, and I'll just go into a little bit more of what Tony does here. If you've got confidence and a little bit of backing, how you can act. So how quick you can act. So we secured the building, and it was head down from that point forward building. So just to touch on, I guess, what Tony's background is before I go further. He has a book. It's a fantastic read if you're looking for a good book. His journey started in a caravan for the first 14 years of his life, and then in Scotland, and then he ventured out to Australia. Well, sorry, actually to Australia, to Perth, and then had a small business mowing lawns in Perth for a few years, and then he got burnt actually by the Australians. If you read the book, he goes into a bit more detail, but and then ventured out to Whangarei and started a small business collecting fat from fish and chip shops and then reselling it, cleaning it up and reselling it as a byproduct. He managed to do okay out of that and decided, look, I'm not done with Australia yet. I'm going to go back to Australia and I'm going to start a pet food business. So he went back to Australia in the early 90s and started VIP Pet Food. And around about 8 years ago, he sold VIP Pet Food for 440 million. And it's a success story. You know, he like I say, he lived in the caravan for the first 14 years of his life, and to do that in your working career is just phenomenal. So as far as a mentor goes and a business partner, he is absolutely fantastic. So from VIP, he moved on into was the same industry, I guess. Manufacturing food for dogs and cats is actually no different to manufacturing food for human consumption. He went on into the sweet world. So he had Darryl Lee and RJ's in New Zealand, and ended up selling that a few years ago for another good story where it was hundreds of millions. And now he's into beef jerky. So Local Legends, it's not here yet, or it is actually at Kmart. Have got a one line of the product, but it'll be launching here in the next sort of 12 months. But he's so he's in food manufacturing, and his little side hustles are the racetrack. So he's a motor racing driver, and like I say, that's how I met him, at the racetrack. I've known him for now 12, 13 years. So out of the success of his businesses, he decided to start pouring money into the motor racing circuits at Hampton Downs and Highlands. He built Highlands from the ground up. He bought Hampton as a going concern, and across the two, there's $80 million worth of investment from him to, you know, I guess put back into the sport he loves, and you know, they're not big returners. You know, anything motor racing wise is like horses or sailing. There's not too many winners that actually make a lot of money out of anything to do with any of that financially. So it's more of a passion for him. So the two on the bottom are his passion businesses, and so That's Tony. That's my business partner, and you know, I like I say, I feel very fortunate and very lucky that I have a mentor that I can pick up the phone any time of the day and talk about life and talk about business. So, what is Game Over? If we well, this is how it started. Sorry, guys. So I'll just rewind just a little bit. This is the building. It was a little bit run down. It's about 15 years old, a little bit run down, but we managed to tidy it up. You can see there's a selfie there, but there's some go-karts to the right, a bear building in the middle, and then dinosaurs and safari animals that I managed to pinch off Highlands, which is the track in the South Island. He said, look, we don't need these. He bought it when he was building. He kind of thought that he'd have a little bit of there's a forest there, and he'd have a little bit of an adventure sort of playground there for kids to walk through. And so I managed to. It wasn't a super exciting thing when there's so much motor racing and go-karts and action stuff to do. So I managed to pinch half of the animals. So that's me picking them up from Highlands to take them back up to Auckland to create and theme our business up in Auckland. So what is Game Over Auckland? Well, we've got electric go-karts. We've got laser tag, mini golf, and an arcade. So it's a fantastic, young or old, fantastic family entertainment centre. We've got something for everyone. From, you know, we've got little golf sticks for if you can walk 2 or 3 years old, all the way up into, you know, the action-packed go-karts. We've got junior go-karts for 7 to 12-year-olds. This weekend coming, we've got 11 birthdays tomorrow and 10 on Sunday, which is kind of the backbone of our weekends, is having sort of 80 to 100 kids for birthdays. And then we've got a stag do tomorrow and a stag do on Sunday, and then public bookings and so on. So Game Over is a family entertainment centre. Sorry, I'm just lost with the slides here. Yeah, so it's where you can come and spend sort of 2 to 3 hours. We've got combo packages that include everything. So from sort of $59 for a junior, you can come and do the laser tag, the mini golf, and a go-kart race, for $69 for an adult. December and November and December with corporate functions, Christmas parties, and team building. Throughout the year, we focus a lot on bringing corporates in and networking, and we actually host the Albany TNG meetings at Game Over in one of our corporate suites. So we've got rooms and private areas for corporates. So we tend to go out and have a little bit of a play every now and then. At the end of the year, we let the hair down, and the group get to have a little bit of fun on the karts there. So this is just the who's who. Through my motor racing connections and networks, I've managed to invite some of the who's who of motor racing into in for sessions. So when Scott was back, when we first opened, Scott Dixon, who's off in IndyCar, he came in with his girls and had an afternoon of fun. And McLaughlin, Van Gisbergen, didn't manage to get them in at the same time. If anyone follows motor racing, they'll know that there's a good ding-dong battle between the two Kiwis and V8 supercars for the last few years. Scott's gone actually over to America now to join Scott McLaughlin's joint Scott Dixon in IndyCar in America. So this is his first season coming up. So as well as Earl Bamber, who was the Le Mans champion, two-time Le Mans champion for Porsche, and has a big team in the States now. So which I'll go back now to the slide here. So I thought, starting a business, Game Over, I thought, my motor racing career was done, and I thought that was going to be the end of it. But I ended up getting a call for the Asian Le Mans series by a Japanese guy who was putting together a team and wanted to take on Le Mans in France, which is the 24-hour race. So to qualify, there's only 59 cars that get an entry, and to qualify, you have to run in one of the regional series around the world. And for us, it was the Asian Le Mans series. So we participated the end of 2019, November 2019, just as COVID was getting going. We were in Shanghai for a race, and then in 2020 went to Australia for a race, Thailand, and then Malaysia. And then I actually came back on the flight NZ284 from Singapore to New Zealand on the 25th of February that the lady brought that first case of COVID into New Zealand. So it was a bit of a dampener on the whole deal. We managed to qualify for Le Mans, but then Le Mans got what do you call it? The date changed. It's normally in June, but they delayed it to later in the year, and us from New Zealand here, we couldn't make it up. But the Kiwi effort went forward, and these two guys, so Shane Van Gisbergen and Nick Cassidy were my teammates in the car, as well as a Japanese guy who he didn't participate at all the rounds, but he was going to participate. His dream was to drive at Le Mans. It was he's got a soft spot for New Zealand, and you know, for him to race at Le Mans was his lifetime dream. And unfortunately for me, I've never done it, and I had to pass up because it was just at the time felt too difficult to get in and out of New Zealand with, you know, I've got a responsibility now with Game Over, and I had to choose the bigger picture and the new life over the old life. It was easy for the Asian series to get in and out because I could go on the Thursday and then come back on the Sunday night and only miss a weekend. But with the quarantine periods and so on, that we had to give that up. But so this is the view from the motorway now. So it's quite visible, and that's our premises. That's the baby. It's to dive into a little bit of the business. It's a relatively, as we know now, my background isn't business. My background is racing cars. But as I've been told and well, not told, but learned over the last few years, it's a relatively straightforward business. It's a cash business. We cut over at night the EFTPOS machines and know exactly what we've made for the day, and you know, anything our fixed costs, as we're a rental business essentially, so our fixed costs are very similar week to week, and you know, we know essentially what our break-even point is, and anything above that is a gain. So our big expenses are rent, which is huge for this building here, and then wages, and then everything else is really insignificant as far as costs go. Marketing, which I'll get into a little bit now. So through the networking group, I've used and met Ad Hoc, who are Dom on the right there, sorry, on in the Ad Hoc photo, Dom on the right is a member of the Albany group. So the last sort of year and a half, like I say, new to business, know I should be doing something with social media. These guys are virtual marketing directors, so they've worked us and worked us through everything that we need to do virtually, online, with marketing and with Facebook and Instagram. And I strongly believe have helped shape Game Over into what it is today. That if anybody is running a business that need a digital marketing or presence or help, these two guys here. I mean, I had two companies in the 6 months prior to these guys who you could see straight through and said what you wanted to hear, but had no substance or credibility behind them. You know, they the true colours soon shone through. But with Dom and Andrew, they are two of the smartest guys in that field, and are very, very cost effective. So I can't stress to you how well we are going, I think, because of these guys, and these are connections that I've met through the networking group. So I'm really glad I joined, and like I say, it's paying dividends. With Thomas on the right there, he's ended up doing a bunch of stuff for me, law-wise, and contractual stuff and shareholders agreements, and he's another member of the Albany group, and like I say, I'm trying to venture into this new world, and the networking group has definitely helped me with meeting these contacts. So I just thought I'd touch on how the TNG group has actually helped, and then I guess I thought I'd show you a little side hustle, side business that I've got going with Tony. So which was born out of the last lockdown. Tony, like I say, his side businesses are Hampton Downs and Highlands. They're fun businesses for him, and it's his way of giving back into a sport that he loves. And he's wanted an academy for basically since he started with Highlands Motorsport Park, and 7 years ago. So he said to me, "Can I come up with a concept and a program for young guys segueing out of go-karts into race cars and make it a little bit easier? We've these beautiful facilities, and I believe if we make it accessible and cost effective enough for kids to come across into the motor racing world from go-karts, and just give them access to the track, that the tracks will get busier." So I put together a proposal and what I thought that New Zealand needed and New Zealand lacked. So as you can see on the left, we've got the business has got 2 Toyota 86s. So there's an instructor that always sits next to these guys that are straight out of go-karts. And then on the right, we've got the previous generation Formula Toyota Racing Series, which is more for guys that have done a little bit of motor racing and now wanting to segue up into the actual main Toyota Racing Series. So that's we've got two of each cars. It's a new thing. It kind of it takes about 2 or 3 days a month out of my month out of Game Over, and it's my old world, and it's a I thought when I would venture into like I said, venture into business, I thought that was it for my old world, but I feel super privileged and lucky that I've got a really supportive business partner, and I'm still in that world with these little programs. So this is what we do. I've just snapshot some stuff off the website, so you can see there's six levels that we can run through. The first 3 are for the 86, and then the 4, 5, and 6 are in that single seater, the black car that was on the right. So they range from $899 up to $3,000. It looks expensive, but as far as motor racing goes, this is the cheapest way you can do it. And I say it was for go-karters segueing into cars, but in actual fact, the levels 1, 2, and 3 will become available for anybody to do. So if there's anyone that's got a inner speed demon listening, wants to get online, you can actually have a look at these programs, and during the course of this year, there'll be more and more days that become available, and you can actually, like I say, you can start at level 1 and make your way all the way through to level 3 as a non-go-karter, and regardless of your age. So it's a little side business that we've started, and seems to be gaining traction. I've got my next day on Friday next week, and it seems to be gaining traction and filling up, which is great. I don't know, that this is just a finished photo here, but I don't know how interesting that was. But I guess go-karts to go-karts, that's my story, and thank you for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions if anyone wants to ask anything.
It's an awesome story. Thanks very much, Dan. I've got a question. What is your dream car?
My dream car, it's a tough one. My dream car would probably be a McLaren F1, the old sort of early 90s, the seats in the center of a car. That's a childhood sort of dream car. I saw one when I was about 10 years old, and I thought, well, I'll have one of them one day. They're $20 million now, so I'm not going to have one ever, but yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. How did
Mr. Bean had one?
Yeah. Yeah, and he crashed it too.
He crashed it, yes, he did.
And it still went up in value. So
it still sold for 20 million, yeah.
Over COVID, like what was obviously big premise, like relying on people to be coming through your doors every day. What was like a couple of the things that you did to kind of keep your mind positive over that time, or kind of keep your resilience up, knowing that there's no income coming in?
For us, so going into COVID, we had a little bit of an arcade, and I went to Archie Brothers. If anyone that's lives in Auckland has ever been to the Newmarket Westfield Mall, there's an Archie Brothers in there called, which is a product out of Australia. It's a family entertainment centre. There's bowling and arcade, and it's an awesome facility. It's a leader in our field, and I spoke to a technician there. I said, where did all this arcade equipment come from? And he said, look, a place in Melbourne called Zach's Amusements. So I got on the phone, and going into COVID, I thought, well, I better order this quick, because I've just been in Asia and China's shutting down. I don't want to miss out on this manufacturing of all this arcade equipment. So I bought a bunch of equipment, and I didn't ever think in my wildest dream, I don't think anyone really did think, that New Zealand would get affected the way it did going into sort of March last year, where we just got shut down for 5 weeks. So it took me a couple of weeks to get my head around. Oh my God, I've spent basically all our cash reserves on a new arcade, and it's going to be here in a couple of weeks, and who the hell is going to come and play it? So in level 4, obviously I did what everyone else did. We unwound some costs. I managed to do a deal with the landlord, and we managed to get a rent relief. We obviously applied for and were eligible for the wage subsidy, and it was tough. I mean, we are a cash business. We rely on people coming in, and in the bank account we had genuinely enough money to pay wages for the next week, and then I was going to have to knock on Tony's door. Tony's fantastic and has enabled all of this, but he's not Father Christmas. Anything that he has put in is accounted for. Anything I've put in is accounted for, and we both have our share of the pie of exactly what we put in. He hasn't gifted money as such. He's gone personal guarantee on a building like this. No one's going to let a 37-year-old with not a lot of substance behind them to go personal guarantee on a building like this. They want a main freight or a multinational company. This used to be the New Zealand Courier building, and that's the kind of business that this building kind of warrants. But with a wealthy guy like Tony, yes, he enabled it by going personal guarantee. And I was genuinely a week away from having to call Tony and say, look, we're going to have to borrow some money either from the bank, or if you want to put some in and the business owes you now. Before we started operating in level 2, and managed to trade out of it and not have to make that phone call. So it was tough, but I think I think, you know, there's been some obviously horrible stories, and it's been tough for a lot of industries. But I think if you had a good business going into it, we've got an even better business now coming out of it. We've been busier with people looking for stuff to do within New Zealand, and you know, we're between sort of 30 and 50% week on week prior to COVID. So we've bounced back bigger and stronger, and a lot of that is to do with the arcade, which I was pulling my hair out at the time, thinking, why did I spend all this money on all the cash reserves on a new arcade? And you know, it turned out to be a godsend. It's its own little attraction now, and we've traded out of near no money to quite a strong position again.
Sounds like your TNG group is the one to be at, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, definitely around Christmas time if you want to come and visit. The last one of the year, we tend to not you're not listening, Melanie. Blow the whole meeting thing and just go and have some fun.
Epic. No, that's so great. Hey, does anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask Dan?
I've got a couple of things just to say, if I might. That Dan, when we spoke a few weeks ago, and I asked you if you'd come online today and share your story, I have to say I was absolutely inspired. And a couple of the things I wrote down from our conversation that day was realizing at a mid-30s that you actually had to go out and get a real job, that you hadn't been, you'd been living your dream, and that life was sort of catching up on you and you had to get a real job. So you used your contacts and used your networks, and you went straight to the top and you sold yourself. And you obviously must have been believable because, the story has unfolded and it's been very successful for you. And what I'm absolutely delighted for you is that you've actually found a way in your business to continue to chase your dream. And that's because you are not only walking the walk, but you're talking the talk, and you're still doing it out there for everybody, and you're still able to explore your passions. So, seeing what you're doing in Hampton Downs is absolutely, it's inspiring and it's fantastic. And I think you'll bring a lot of pleasure to a lot of people.
Thank you, Melanie. I mean, I've got to say, I mean, thanks for listening to, guys. If I can do it, and manage to, change my direction, and I think anybody can. I don't have a business mind. I just have one underlying thing that I think I've had, and I'm lucky that along the way is just a work ethic. And I just think that never give up attitude is the only way forward, and never ever think that. A guy in motor racing a long time ago said to me, what you need to do, mate, if you want to keep going, this was when I was about 14, his name was the late Jason Richards, said, pick up the phone and start calling people. And I'll never forget that conversation, because he's a young guy, was a young guy from the Hawke's Bay, and came from no money and went through a journey in motor racing and made a lot of money. And his way was just picking up the phone and talking to as many people as he could and asking as many questions. He knew what he needed. He knew the end goal, and he asked as many questions along the way to get to that goal. And he was a great mentor at the time for me. But unfortunately, he died of cancer in 2011. But that his journey to that point was just networking, ringing people, and never giving up. And that's my early mentor was Jason Richards.
It's a great lesson.
Cool.
Just one other thing, Dan, if I might say something else, that we've been to Highland Park down in Cromwell, and if anyone is down in Queenstown, it is well worth a visit. It's really cool. They've got a museum down there, a car museum, so there's lots of great cars to look at, and you can also do a lap. There's all sorts of cars you can go and do a lap around.
Experiences, yeah. And to be not to lower it to toilet humor, right now, but Tony's a big one for toilets. He's going to write a book on toilets around New Zealand and where it has clean toilets to stop at if you're doing a road trip. But essentially, it's led him to building a new facility at Highlands, a loo with a view. I don't know if anyone saw that on 7 Sharp maybe 2-3 weeks ago. It's just been completed. But he's Google it. It's well worth it. It's going to become a tourist attraction in New Zealand in the years to come. But it's essentially you can be sitting on the toilet looking out over the racetrack. But then he's got some quirky things in there with, like, when you're urinating as a bloke, you're standing up. There's a big Donald Trump mouth that you're aiming through, and he and then there's, next to Donald Trump, there's some instruments. There's a bass, some drums, and so when the stream enters into the urinal, if you're standing at the drums, it plays the drums. If you're standing at the guitar, it plays the guitar. And they're really fancy. They're really cool. So 7 Sharp did a piece on that. If you wanted to Google and watch it, it's quite a cool little and you get a bit of a tour through the museum that Melanie was talking about as well in the show. So it's actually well worth the watch.
Epic. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. If no one else has any questions, it's really interesting to hear about your business and what you've achieved, and also how TNG has played a part of that journey as well. So what we'll do is we'll just do a quick wrap around the room. So just introduce yourself, mention something that you got out of the meeting, and then we'll wrap up. So what I'll do is we'll just start with you, Claire.
Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes, you are.
Stop sharing. Okay. There we go.
So Claire, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much, Dan. That was absolutely awesome to reiterate some of what Melanie said. It's great to hear that, you know, you've taken your passion and taken it into the business world, and that you've learned heaps along the way, and fantastic that I guess you didn't go in with the attitude of, well, I know everything already. So sounds like you're a really humble guy. I must say, I live North Auckland and I drive the motorway all the time, and I've seen the building being developed and just signage going up and things like that. And I have boys who are battering me to come along and have a try. We've been to the one in Silverdale that obviously, you know, that closed a long time ago now. So yeah, I'll make sure I bring the boys along now. So thank you for that. And that's Claire Baker from Egentic. We're digital consumer lead generators.
Great, thanks, Claire. Natalie?
Hi guys, good morning. My name is Natalie. I'm from Junk to Go Rubbish Removal Services. Dan, thank you so much. That was really, truly amazing. And if there's something that I've learned out of it, is that anything is possible. It doesn't matter where you are in life, anything's possible. Just a brief little thing about us. We basically operate Auckland-wide 7 days a week, where we come to your premises and make the process of removing rubbish easy. We do not only take, but we give too. Meaning in that from yesterday up until today, we've gifted out now over 300 boxes of clothing and shoes for the Kelston community, which are having a clothing drive in the next few weeks, as well as over 50 bikes to the bike barn, where little young boys and girls that have never had a bicycle in their life are now able to enjoy what we take for granted. So anyone that you possibly know that needs help making rubbish removal easier, please feel free to get in touch. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Natalie. Ken.
Ken Jackson from Mortgage Lab. You know, I enjoyed Dan's talk. It sort of reminded me of my previous industry that I was involved with. I was running adventure tourism in the sport of paintball for many years. So, you know, after 25 years of doing that, I did change in 2019, and I feel like I kind of dodged a bullet with the COVID. So it's interesting to hear Dan saying, you know, what are people, you know, in your industry, the adventure tourism, that's definitely a big impact from COVID. So glad to hear that he's getting through that and coming out the other side even stronger. So that's really positive. From a mortgage advising role, it is quite a change for me, but I'm enjoying the transfer across. And one of the areas that I enjoy the most is sort of making that personal connection and helping people achieve something that they wouldn't be able to do it directly. So that has been good bonuses for me. So yeah, Ken Jackson, Mortgage Lab.
Thanks, Ken. Colin?
Good day, everybody. Colin Gardner, CCG Consulting. I'm a business growth consultant and exit strategist. And Dan, it was very interesting how you spoke about your business partner. He obviously had an exit strategy planned when he went into business. And I have a saying that it's never too early to plan your exit strategy. So if you're in business, you should have an exit plan. And you never know when somebody's going to come and knock on your door and want to buy your business. And you want to make sure that your business is ready for you to sell. So that's Colin Gardner, CCG Consulting. Thank you.
Good. Baptist?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Baptist from Tax Advantage. Dan, that was a great eye-opener for me also, that everything is possible in life. Like everything is possible, you also, once it is possible, you need to pay taxes on what you earn. The more you earn, the more taxes you pay. So I am the guy who you should come to for planning your taxes so that you are not behind IRD. I see that you are out of jail. Otherwise, you will end up in jail if you don't pay up your taxes. So I do everything, plan everything, do everything for for my clients, small scale businesses, have their cash flow so that they have enough money to enjoy themselves as well as pay their taxes. So that's Baptist from Tax Advantage.
Awesome, thank you. The finance experts is the industry, so I'm not too sure of you. Go ahead.
Hi, this is me. My name is Mahesh. I am a new block on this TNG group. How do I start my video? Here we go. Give me 1 second. I have 17, 19 years of banking experience in New Zealand, work with ASB, BNZ. Now I'm a mortgage advisor, as with Mr. Jackson just said, with the industry changing rapidly from the 15th of March. We're trying to gear up with as much as we could in terms of having the advisor's point of view. Now, in terms of what I've learned from Dan is never give up. Always work hard, follow your passion, and the rest will fall in place. So thank you, Dan, for sharing that story. Really loved it. And thank you, team, for having me on this group. Cheers.
Awesome. Mark or Garth, did you want to have anything to share?
Sure, thanks, Dan. Awesome journey, awesome story, and really heartwarming to hear about networking and how networking's helped you. I've been a business owner many years and I have a great business network, but it's oftentimes you need to pick up the phone and actually call people and talk to people about your network and use your network. And it was great to hear that how you've used yours, Dan. So thanks so much for sharing your story with us. Really enjoyed it. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dan. It was awesome to hear. Definitely have to head up to Auckland and go check it out. I've done the karting down at Hampton Downs, or up at Hampton Downs, but always keen for some more fast racing experiences. So I'm Dan from Gaunt. So we're a digital design studio based in Hamilton. So we build custom websites and digital experiences. So helping businesses better communicate what they do through visual storytelling on their website. So we work with a lot of web design companies to build custom functionality for their customers as well. So whether it's custom booking systems or memberships or custom functionality for shipping, or the harder it is, the more gray hairs it gives me, but the more fun it is, So that's the space that we sit in, and we love it. So thanks. That's me, Dan from Gaunt.